but I will do that.
There we go, Ed.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ed Lindner. Let me start by again thanking the task force for the tremendous amount of work that you've done on this project. The document that you've produced is really impressive in its scope and in its detail, and I do hope the City Council and the department will get to work as soon as possible trying to make these recommendations a reality. I wanted to comment tonight just on one specific point, the proposal for a civilian review board, which really I see as being the key proposal in all of this. That's the part of the proposal that assures the public that all of the other policies and procedures which will be adopted as a result of your work have actually been carried out and that the department is following through. Let me say by way of background that I'm speaking tonight in my personal capacity, but in my day job, I'm a deputy administrator for the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct, which is the entity that investigates and adjudicates citizens' complaints against New York State judges. So there's a lot of overlap that I see between the work the commission does and what a proposed civilian review board would have to do. Commission has 4 decades of experience now of investigating citizens' complaints. And I can tell you that a properly formed oversight board, a board that's seen by the public as being independent and competent, and equally importantly, a board that's seen by the department as being fair and impartial, can go a long way and have a tremendous impact on public confidence and the integrity of the department, and it can build and strengthen the kind of public trust that the department needs to do its work. I do think there are some ways that the proposal could be improved. I'm sure that there will be tweaks along the way. Seems to me that there should be a clearer procedure for the department to be able to move to dismiss a complaint, which is without merit. The current proposal puts that as it's written, and perhaps I'm misreading it, but it looks like one neutral board member may have to initiate that process, so that should be clarified. I also think it would be important for the board to have access to hiring a part-time per diem investigator. There are always going to be cases, maybe not very often, but there will be cases in which we need some independent investigation. And because that will happen on a per diem basis, I think the budget impact on that is going to be minimal. I just wanted to respond to a couple of comments that were made by members of the task force last time, specifically about the CRB. Ms. Galvin raised a concern, and I'm paraphrasing here, so I hope I get this right, but I think her concern was that there's no evidence we have a sufficient number of complaints out there to warrant creating a whole new entity. And I think that's always a fair question when you're proposing something new. But I do think this is one of those cases in which the numbers, whatever they are not going to tell you the whole story. My experience at the commission bears out what I think we all know as a matter of common sense. People are often reluctant to make complaints about people in positions of power, and they're particularly reluctant to do so if they're not assured that there's an independent and fair investigation. Before the commission was created, complaints against judges were heard by panels of judges, and in the 100 years that that process was in place, there were exactly 23 public disciplines of New York State judges. Since 1978, the commission has been disciplining about 20 a year. It's not because suddenly in 1978 judges were committing 100 times more misconduct, but because once there was a process in place that people felt comfortable with, people started to come forward. I also think it's important to take into account that even if the numbers are not great, that individual cases can have a lasting effect on the public's relationship with the department. It's been 7 years now since the incident with Darrell Mount, and obviously we're still talking about that. Whatever happened with that night, a properly run civilian review board could have provided a forum for the department to talk about what happened and what choices were made, and for the public to find out the facts and make their own choices. Perhaps that wouldn't resolve all of the acrimony and distrust that I see, but that's the kind of a process that you need to have to make that kind of thing possible. I also wanted to comment on Chief Crook's comment, respond to it at least, that the CRB would violate the current police collective bargaining agreement. I don't think that's true, and I think in any event that comment is premature. As I read this proposal, the proposed CRB is not a disciplinary agency. It can't discipline an officer. If they make a recommendation that an officer should be disciplined, the police chief is free to ignore that. Although I hope that members of the department will participate in any proceedings that the CRB undertakes, there's no penalty in this provision if they fail to do so. So it's not really a disciplinary agency. It's more of a structure to provide a process to resolve complaints between citizens and members of the department that can be resolved through mediation. And in cases where they can't be resolved, to do fact finding, to make some, to give public transparency and to make some recommendations. None of that, in my view, implicates the rights in Articles 5 and 6 of the current CBA. And so I don't think that that's an issue. But I do think, there's a genuine concern on the part of the union. It's understandable, and that's going to need to be worked out. So we should keep in mind that there are citizen review boards of one form or another in many, many, many cities across the state. All of those municipalities have collective bargaining issues, and all of them have been able to work those out. And I don't see any reason we can't do that here. So I'm hopeful that the city council will move forward with a civilian review board, and that they will set up a committee that will iron out the details, strengthen the process, and ensure that the union's collective bargaining rights are not impaired. Thanks.
Thank you.